Hi friends, I'm Rita Boyer, Certified Educator at Prospect Presbyterian Church in Maplewood, New Jersey. During this time when we are not able to gather together in our church building, I've been offering virtual midweek Tell Me a Story times and Sunday Connect Ed lessons for children. And I'm happy to know that some adults have been tuning in as well. One of the activities I've recently offered to the children is one that I think may be of particular interest to adults. And so I'd like to take a few moments to share it with you now. That activity is a prayer coloring sheet that looks like this. You can actually download and print this sheet by going to our church website and looking for prayer coloring sheet. Or you can check your emails. If you have an email from the church that's dated Wednesday, April 1st, look for the link to the prayer coloring sheet. As an alternative, you can certainly just use a plain sheet of paper. Anything that you have on hand is fine. A few years ago, I taught an adult elective titled Praying in Color. Many of the youth and adults who attended that elective said that they found it to be a very meaningful way for them to pray. Now, even if praying in color didn't speak to you at the time, I would invite you to think about it and try it at this time. Because after all, it is Lent, and Lent is a time when people engage in different spiritual practices. Also, it is a very unusual time for us. We find ourselves in a time of anxiety, in a time of uncertainty, in a time of, to one degree or another, isolation. And so perhaps that makes it a very good time to try a spiritual practice that might be a little different for you, a practice like praying in color. All you need is a set of markers or colored pencils and either the prayer coloring sheet that I have provided or a plain sheet of paper. To begin, I invite you to think about who it is that you are praying to. There are many different names for God. Which one resonates with you in this particular moment of prayer? Healer, Comforter, Mother, Father. Choose a name for God that will center your prayer, and then print that name either in the center or somewhere on this sheet of paper, or perhaps in one of the shapes at the top of the prayer coloring sheet. Put that name. You might want to draw your own shape around the name. Allow your fingers to doodle around that name or to draw different patterns, dots, lines, anything is fine. But spend some time with that name for God. About 3 minutes, if you will. Some people might even want to set a timer as you begin to live into this practice. But spend time with God as healer, as comforter, as mother, as father, whatever name you have chosen for this particular prayer. And after you have spent some time, as I say, about 3 minutes, then think about people that you want to lift up in prayer. You might want to put a person's name in one of these shapes. Doodle around that name. Or just put some colors that express feelings around that person's name. But spend some time with that person in prayer, lifting up that particular person. Again, about 3 minutes. You don't need to fill the time with words. Maybe just with color. Or perhaps words will come to your heart. But allow it to be whatever it is in that time and in that space. If you're using a plain sheet of paper, write the person's name and draw a shape around it. A heart, a box, a circle, whatever. Do that with several names, several people, circumstances, with the world, with different situations about which you want to pray. Give them a prayer space on your page, a prayer closet, if you will, and spend time within that prayer space or prayer closet each time before you move on to the next one. Many people find that this visual way of praying gives them a way to focus their prayer. Because if you're like most people, when you are spending time in prayer, your mind might wander onto other things, and it takes a while to get back. But people find that having a pen in hand, coloring, drawing, allows them to focus, to be present in that prayer. It gives our bodies something to do. And sometimes our bodies need to be engaged during that time of prayer. This method of praying also leaves space for God to speak to us, because we don't need to fill all of the prayer time with words. We're just spending time in those prayer spaces, spending time with our markers, with our paper, with whatever your drawing is, thinking about that person or situation, holding it in your heart. But as you spend time and you don't fill that time and space with words necessarily, God can speak to you. People also find that this is a concrete, more tangible way of praying. And therefore, it becomes part of us and part of our memory, and something that we can carry with us throughout the day and throughout, in fact, many days. People have come back to me and said, you know, I'm thinking about my prayers throughout the day because I have this visual of that person's name before me and all of the little hearts or flowers that I drew around that person's name. And later in the day, as I'm preparing a meal, as I'm going for a walk, as I'm doing the laundry, as I'm driving through an errand, that comes to mind because I have that visual, that concrete prayer that I take with me. So I would invite you to try this spiritual discipline as perhaps a new practice or a practice that is not part of your usual routine this Lent, and particularly during these days of uncertainty and anxiety. I hope that you would benefit from it. Thank you.